Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'd like to introduce you to our Labradoodle Benji and our mini Pomeranian Archie. They are so spoiled. We consider them part of the family, which means it's really hard for us to leave them behind when we go on trips. We always want to make sure they're being taken care of the way we would take care of them. So we really try to pick vacations and trips that we can bring them along. But any pet owner knows that this can be quite difficult and expensive. Through trial and error, we figured out how we can bring our pets along every single time. So if you'd like to know how you can bring your four-legged friend to your next trip to Cedar Point, keep on watching. Number 1, book a pet-friendly Airbnb. There's a ton of Airbnbs that is available in Sandusky, and we find that this is the best option when traveling with pets. You have a variety of different options you can choose from when booking an Airbnb. You can rent anything from a single room to an entire apartment to an entire house. Renting an entire house, we believe, is the best option because it's not that expensive. It's about the same price as what you would pay for a hotel every night, depending on what house you pick. Also, unlike staying in a hotel room or an apartment, if you have an entire house, you don't really have to worry about your dog barking and disturbing someone. The worst case scenario would be you standing in line for an hour in the middle of the park and getting a call from either the Airbnb host of an apartment or a hotel manager and saying, hey, you have to come back right now to get your dog because they're barking. By renting a house, you avoid all this because it's unlikely that your neighbors are going to hear the dog, or it's unlikely that dog will be barking loud enough that it will be a disruption to anyone around. Make sure that you read the entire house rules list before you do book a certain Airbnb. Some of them require a house fee for the pet. Sometimes it's per pet, sometimes it's per night, and sometimes it's just per the entire trip, just in case your pet does damage something. If your dogs are like mine and they're in a new place, they'll more than likely either chew on something or think something's a toy when it's not and ruin it. So it's always a good idea to cage them even when you're not at the property, just to make sure that you're not paying a bunch of money on a deposit to fix something. Also, most of the hosts of Airbnbs will require you to crate your dog when you're not on the property. This is because in case there's an emergency and they have to enter the vicinity, they don't want to have to either be trying to not let your dog run out on the road, or maybe your dog isn't too friendly with strangers. It just protects them and your dog if something were to happen. I just wanted to throw this in as a tip really quick that if you do plan to bring your pooch along on all your vacations, make sure that when you first get them, you really start to crate train them. That way they don't see the crate as a punishment. They'll see it as a safe place. They'll like it, so make sure you put plenty of blankets in there, plenty of their toys, treats, all that. It will make traveling so much easier. And again, just one last warning, read the house rules. This will make sure that you know what to expect and that you can best prepare for your furry friend. Number 2, rent a pet-friendly cabin. Unfortunately, no, Cedar Point's cabins do not allow pets. That would honestly be really cool if they did, because you could just be in the park and then let them out to go potty, but they don't. But there are several cabins in the area for rent, as well as campgrounds that have cabins that are pet friendly and that allow you to bring Fido along. A quick Google search of just pet-friendly cabins Sandusky will bring up a whole ton of options for you. Many of these cabins already have cages in them so that you don't even have to drag your cage to the cabin. And those cages are cleaned after every visit, so you don't have to worry there. Obviously, that means that these cabins require you, if you're not at the cabin, to leave your dog in the cage. But you don't have to worry because the cabins are all air conditioning and they have everything that your pet will need to be comfortable while you're not there. Although this isn't an entire house, I do think this is a good option because I think the cabin walls will be thick enough. Again, if your dog's like mine and they hear something and they bark, I don't think that you're going to be getting a phone call to come back to the cabin to get your dog. I can't stress enough, make sure you understand the rules though before you go so it makes your trip stress-free. Number 3, rent a camper or bring your own. We do a lot of hiking. We love to be outdoors. We used to tent camp a lot. So last summer, we actually made the decision to buy ourselves just a small 15-foot camper to be able to leave our dog in. At the time, we only had one. Now we have 2 because we wanted to go do things like go to museums that were in the area, go on day trips, and we wanted to make sure that our dog is comfortable. Obviously, in a tent, they wouldn't be because of the heat, but now that we have a camper, we can safely leave them in the camper with the air conditioning, with their water, with their food, and they will be okay. This doubled as a solution for where our dogs can go when we're at Cedar Point. There is a ton of campgrounds around Cedar Point that we can rent a slot at, park our camper, leave our dogs, and be able to go to the park and then come back and let them out. Honestly, I think they're perfectly comfortable in there. Like I said, there's air conditioning, they have all of their toys, and it lets us enjoy the park without worrying what our dogs are doing. If you don't have a camper, there's no worries. Just Google Camper Rentals Sandusky. A ton of websites will pop up that have very nice campers that are thoroughly cleaned before you use them. They'll even pull the camper to the exact campsite that you need it in, which is pretty cool, and you don't have to do anything. So if you don't know anything about a camper, no worries. They'll do all the work for you. You'll be able to stay in a really nice camper. It's basically a miniature house, and your pets will be nice and cool while you are at the park. Number 4, stay in a pet-friendly hotel. If you Google Bring Fido, it's actually a website that will show you every single hotel in the area you want to stay in that is pet-friendly. So all you have to do is go to Bring Fido and type in Sandusky, and it will bring up a ton of hotels that do allow dogs to stay. Most of them will charge a fee, which is why this isn't really one of our favorite options. Again, like I mentioned earlier, if your dogs are like ours, if they hear something, they're gonna bark. And a lot of the hotels charge a pretty big $50 to $80 fee to have your pet there, which on top of a hotel bill, this is going to get pretty expensive pretty quickly. Also, most of these hotels won't let you leave your dog there without you on the premises, which means someone in your party is going to have to stay back from the park and stay in your hotel room with the pooch. Now, that might sound a little bit weird, but if you have someone who's elderly or who might have special needs or has a young child who doesn't want to go to the park, this could work out. If no one in your party wants to stay back at the hotel, I do have another option in option number 5, but I just wanted to end this one by saying I wanted to include this one in because even though you have to work around some difficulties, even though it's a little bit more expensive, I think if you were in a pinch and needed somewhere for your pet to stay while you were at the park, this is definitely an option. Number 5, Cedar Point Pet Check. Many don't know that Cedar Point actually has a facility where you can leave your dog while you're at the park. Pet Check is located near the Bay Harbor restaurant across from the shuttle bus lot. For just $15 a day per animal, your pet will be provided a cage or a run, dry dog food, and fresh water. Cedar Point makes clear that it is the owner's responsibility to water, feed, walk, and take the pet potty. Staff does not handle or interact with any pets. They are only there to ensure your pet is secured and the air conditioning is working. So make sure that in between rides you're taking breaks to ensure that your pet has water and doesn't have to use the bathroom. Pet drop-off is available an hour before the park is open, and your pooch must be picked up an hour after closing. Overnight accommodations are not available. I hope these tips and tricks were helpful on your next visit to Cedar Point when you need to bring your pet along. That is it for this video. Cedar Point Mom is signing off. Ride Warriors, ride on.